Well, it's that time of day once again. Jeem doing a little content critique and review. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. The comments boosted in the algorithm, and the likes are good too, and the views are good, and it's all very good. Today, at the recommendation of one of my regular viewers, we'll be reviewing Over the Hedge. Now, I chose this because I was amused at the suggestion, but actually, it's a pretty decent movie. I could be very obnoxious and go into the allegory of how everything is theological. For example, in the beginning, we have RJ, the raccoon, looking for the snack in the vending machine, and it gets stuck, and he decides to climb up this mountain wall, this rocky face, and he goes to the cave, to this bear that he knows. And he tries to steal everything from this bear. So his journey up into the cave is like a journey toward paradise. But there's something in the way of that. We could even say that the bear is Satan in this example. And so Satan, or the demons, are in the way of him reaching paradise. Not just that, but the fact of man's fallen nature prevents him from getting to the paradise. So even when he has the treasure and the loot in his hands, he cannot escape with it. He cannot be prosperous because his own greed, he goes back to get more, and that's where he gets caught. So that could be allegorical of man's fallen nature. And then the bear would be allegorical of the demons, or Satan himself trying to get in the way of paradise. But there's no way to get back to that pre-fallen man state. So even if RJ wants all of the treasure, aka paradise, he cannot. He already missed his chance. He ruined it by getting the ire of this bear, getting the attention of the demon. Then, of course, all the other animals like Vern and Hammy and the rest, they cannot go back to living in the garden. They cannot live in bliss because they know of the outside world. They know of the knowledge of good food and evil food. I could go that way and make it very allegorical. Instead, I'm just going to review the rest of the film now. I thought it was actually a pretty good movie, especially for a kid's movie. Some parts that are kind of juvenile humor that you may roll your eyes at as an adult. I think this is a great family film, and I do think that there is actually things to analyze in this film outside of the obnoxious, over-the-top theological summation that I gave. For example, when you look at this clip here of RJ introducing everybody to suburbia, it's really kind of a time capsule into the mindset of this mid-2000s end of history America, aka the West as a whole.
Welcome to suburbia.
Listen, if anybody in this family gets hurt, I'm holding you personally responsible.
They're having a good time. I'll take responsibility for that.
What is that?
That is an SUV. Humans ride around in it because they are slowly losing their ability to walk.
Jeepers, it's so big.
How many humans fit in there?
Usually, one.
Ooh.
So what I mean by that is that in this period of the 90s and onward, a lot of Westerners thought history was over. Now man is at the apex of his knowledge and power, and that is epitomized in the fat boomer who's grilling all his meat and watching TV all day. And that RJ makes these off-the-cuff remarks about how only one human being usually is the one driving a massive SUV. Why do we need to waste these resources? And yet we do. All the houses look the exact same. And yet RJ calls this paradise on earth because of the bountiful resource of food.
We eat to live. These guys live to eat. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The human mouth is called a pie hole. The human being is called a couch potato. That is the device to summon food. That is one of the many voices of food. That is the portal for the passing of the food. That is one of the many food transportation vehicles. Humans bring the food, take the food, ship the food, they drive the food, they wear the food.
And it's kind of a poignant take on the gluttony of Western society. So I thought that was very intriguing. That's very heavy-handed in this movie, but it has to be for kids to be able to understand that. I thought it was handled pretty nicely, just seeing these, again, these like kind of primordial, archaic animals in RJ's view sitting in the garden. And then they get out into the world where you have all these temptations and luxuries.
That gets the food hot. That keeps the food cold. That, I'm not sure what that is. What do you know? Food! That is the altar where they worship. Food. That's what they eat when they've eaten too much food. That gets rid of the guilt so they can eat more food. Food! 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 So, you think they have enough? Well, they don't. For humans, enough is never enough.
This kind of disruption between the natural order and the rest of the man-made suburbia, which RJ calls paradise, fittingly. For him it is. For Vern, who's more naturally inclined, who we could say is more of an aesthetic, more of a monk. Allegorically, he would be the one who loves the simpler way. He's kind of almost a monastic, cares about his family, cares about the people around him, cares about having a simple life and doing what his ancestors did. You have RJ, who's the epitomized boomer, even though he's not a human being, and he loves the world. So I thought that was quite good. But back to the end of history thing. I want to get over that again. Per the end of history, in the West, 90s to 2000s, people thought history was over, like I said.
In our time, at the end of the 20th century, many people in the West speak as if the future course of history has been settled. People talk of the triumph of the West, of the victory of liberal democracy and the free market, and even of the end of history. The questions which have concerned humanity for so long. What is society for? How should it be organized? What are human rights and freedoms? And how do they relate to nature and to the spiritual? These questions about the goals of life, it is said, have now been settled in favor of the values of the West.
And this movie does a great job of kind of epitomizing that. I keep using that word, but it is very useful here. And so we see this suburbia where there is no mention of any underlying culture. There's no mention of any underlying society. Everybody's in their own self-contained bubble of paradise. My house versus your house. We don't have to talk to each other, but we could. But I could theoretically go in my house, sit on my lazy boy, and click with my on-demand remote and watch my awesome TV show for like 9 hours. Nowadays, people are addicted to the internet. I don't think people watch 9 hours of TV anymore, but this was how it was in the mid-2000s. Same thing with The Simpsons. You know, early Homer's always watching TV, but he's not watching TV now because it's not the in thing to be addicted to TV. The in thing is to be addicted to the internet. Bart and Lisa don't do that either. That's another subject. The point being, society is represented in the way that it is in this movie, and it wasn't seen as that much of a problem back then, although I have a feeling the film was kind of attacking it at the same time, given RJ's speech and kind of the ridiculousness and the villainry of these humans compared to the innocent animals. So I thought that was extremely intriguing. And, you know, kind of the end of history. There's nothing more important than being a boomer on a lazy boy grilling and watching TV. And so that was definitely stood out to me. I thought the movie had a good amount of humor. The encounters of the animals with the man-made human kingdom is very interesting because they don't understand why the humans need so much luxury. And I was watching this on a massive TV, on a comfortable couch, eating some great food and thinking to myself, wow, you know, we could be in the wild foraging for berries and seeds like Vern wanted us to, and instead we have this luxurious life. Like, why do we need all this stuff? Why do we go to such lengths to continue to eat food? Why do we have to consume? And consuming, like, people think it's all about media. That's what the meme is today. You know, consume media, consume content. Yeah, that's a big problem, but even before we had the content bubble, we were consuming all manner of things. We were consuming soda. We were consuming video games. We were consuming food. Tons of food. We're consuming luxuries like cars. Just because things are not as material anymore, we're all on the internet. We were already consuming back in the 2000s. And I like kind of the commentary on modern life versus what could have been, versus what we were. I do think the beginning, even though I went overboard with the theological allegory, the beginning is quite symbolic. You know, RJ cannot get to the paradise because his own temptation, his own fallen nature prevents him from doing that. And then Vern cannot get back to the pre-fallen animal, human, in this case, because they already discovered the hedge. And going over the hedge, in my opinion, is eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So that would be my over-the-top assessment of Over the Hedge. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
Uh-oh.
What was that?
That